Prepare to challenge your deepest preconceptions about life, consciousness, and the universe itself. And what is life? Award-winning physicist Erwin Schrödinger invites us on an intellectual journey that transcends the boundaries of biology and physics to delve into the most fundamental questions of existence. His book isn't just about science. It's a philosophical meditation that sparked a revolution in biological thinking and left us with questions that still resonate today. This video summary will guide you through Schrödinger's central ideas, clearly unpacking his arguments and showing you why his insights remain so relevant. Each chapter will offer a unique perspective and practical advice for applying these profound insights to your own life. Prepare to expand your mind and see the world in a new light. This summary is structured into 3 chapters, each dedicated to a major section of this seminal work. Chapter 1. What is life? A physical perspective on biology. In the central and most famous section of the book, Schrödinger ventures into unusual territory for a physicist: biology. He is driven by the fundamental question of how living organisms can maintain such an intricate order and perpetuate it across generations. Despite the second law of thermodynamics, which dictates that the entropy, according to which the disorder of the universe is always increasing, must always increase. His answer is revolutionary. Living organisms feed on negentropy or negative entropy, that is, they extract order from their environment to maintain their own highly organized state. Schrödinger also proposes the existence of an aperiodic crystal as the carrier of genetic information. DNA had not yet been discovered as the molecule that carries heredity, so Schrödinger's idea was ahead of its time. He suggested that genetic information did not reside in a repetitive structure, but in a complex, aperiodic code capable of storing a vast amount of detailed instructions. He argued that the laws of quantum physics, not those of classical physics, were essential to understanding the stability and mutation of genes. Since at the atomic scale, bonds are strong enough to be stable, yet malleable enough to allow for change. Schrödinger uses the analogy of a perfect clock that runs precisely, but eventually wears out due to disorder or entropy. Living organisms, however, not only maintain their order, but also self-replicate. He proposed that this ability is achieved by extracting order from their environment, like a plant that draws energy from the sun to grow and structure itself. The idea of the aperiodic crystal contrasted with the crystals known until then, which were repetitive. Based on what has been expressed in this chapter, we might ask ourselves if our own order, in the face of the forces of disorder in life, is found in sources of physical, mental, and emotional energy that allow us to grow and maintain our integrity. Chapter 2. Mind and Matter. Exploring consciousness. In this chapter, Schrödinger delves into the problematic relationship between mind and matter, one of the most persistent enigmas of philosophy and science. He recognizes the apparent duality between the subjective experience of consciousness and the objective description of the physical world by science. He proposes that this duality, although intuitive, is an illusion, or at least a simplification of a deeper, more unified reality. Schrödinger argues that consciousness is singular and unitary without intrinsic plurality. Inspired by Vedic philosophy and Hinduism, he suggests that individual consciousness is a manifestation of an underlying universal consciousness, thus eliminating the problem of how thousands of individual minds interact with their respective bodies. Furthermore, he explores the idea that the mind is not a product of matter in the reductionist sense, but perhaps a fundamental property of the universe, and that matter as we know it is simply what consciousness perceives and organizes. He raises the question of whether the objectivity of science is not a construct of consciousness itself. Schrödinger addresses the hard problem of consciousness, how subjective experiences, for example, sensing the color red or smelling a flower, arise from objective neural activity. He questions whether this experience can be purely a material byproduct, suggesting instead that consciousness could be a universal observer or a more fundamental quality that simply emerges from the brain. His reference to the Hindu phrase, Atman equals Brahman, is a direct example of its philosophical influence. The individual soul is identical to the universal soul. Schrödinger makes us reflect on the nature of our own consciousness and how our subjective perceptions construct reality, opening us to the possibility that there may be a deeper connection between our mind and the universe around us. Chapter 3. Autobiographical sketches. The path of a radical thinker. The final section of the book offers an intimate look into the life and thought of Erwin Schrödinger. Through these excerpts, the reader gains a personal perspective on the scientist behind his revolutionary ideas. Schrödinger recounts his childhood, his education, and the influences that shaped his unique way of seeing the world and science. It allows us to understand the context in which his ideas about life and the mind were formed, revealing that his curiosity was not limited to physics but encompassed philosophy, biology, and spirituality. These sketches demonstrate that great questions do not arise in a vacuum, but from deep personal reflection, life experiences, and a relentless desire to go beyond disciplinary boundaries. Schrödinger is not content to answer questions within the limits of his field. He seeks a holistic understanding, integrating different areas of knowledge to address the most complex enigmas of existence. It is an invitation to interdisciplinarity and intellectual humility, recognizing that no science or philosophy has a monopoly on the truth. Schrödinger describes his love of mountaineering, not only as a physical activity, but as a form of meditation, and a source of inspiration, where the solitude and immensity of nature fostered his abstract thinking and his connection to the great questions. He also shares how his interest in Eastern philosophy, unusual for a scientist of his time, directly influenced his ideas about consciousness. In conclusion, what is life? It's a beacon of interdisciplinarity and intellectual audacity. It reminds us that the most important questions in science often transcend disciplinary divisions and require an open, curious mind willing to explore the boundaries of knowledge. Schrödinger's vision not only laid the foundations for molecular genetics, but also invites us to deep introspection about our place in the universe and the nature of our own conscious existence. May the insights of this thinking giant inspire you to question, to explore, and to seek your own truths, thereby contributing to a richer, deeper understanding of life itself. The journey of discovery is infinite, and your mind is the most powerful tool for exploring it. If you learned something, like the video, subscribe and check out the channel for more content like this.